Hello friends. Today we're going to talk about a weapon that looks like it came straight out of Star Wars, but is already entering active service in the US military, and is probably the most promising answer to the worst tactical problem Ukrainian defenders are facing today. I'm talking about the annoying Russian fiber optic drones. The system is called Leonidas, like the king of Sparta, and it was developed by the American company Epirus. Unlike any other anti-drone system we've seen so far, it doesn't use bullets, it doesn't use missiles, it doesn't use radio jamming. What it does is literally fry the electronic components of enemy drones with a directed microwave pulse. And in August 2025, during a demonstration at Camp Turberry, Indiana, it shot down 49 drones simultaneously with a single shot. Yes, just as you heard. 49 drones with a single microwave pulse that brought the entire swarm down from the sky at the same time. During the first 2 years of the war, the Ukrainian anti-drone doctrine was based on generating electromagnetic interference to block the control signal of the Russian drones. If the device was radio-controlled, the defenders tried to disrupt the signal so it would lose control and fall to the ground. Another option was to send false coordinates to the drone's GPS to make it go off course. But starting in 2024, Mordor introduced a system at the front that completely broke that doctrine. The FPB attack drone, controlled by fiber optics. This is physically connected to the operator station by a thin cable, several kilometers long, that transmits flight commands, real-time video, and precise telemetry using light signals instead of radio. This gives the drone a digital data channel with stable communication over long distances, making it immune to radio frequency electronic warfare and undetectable to warning systems that identify the radio control signal and alert defenders to the presence of a Z drone. When Mikhailo Fedorov was still Minister of Digital Transformation, he publicly reported that Russia could eventually deploy fiber optically controlled drones with a range of 50 kilometers. Something that, if it becomes reality, could seriously affect the logistics of the defending forces at the front. In fact, some manufacturers showed reels that carry up to 65 kilometers of fiber, which caught the attention of the horde. And the Russians claim to have successfully tested one of them. Come on. 65 kilometers of cable means that those vultures are no longer just tactical drones, but devices with deep penetration capability, completely immune to the electronic warfare systems available up to that point. Now, classic electronic warfare operated with two basic principles: interrupting the signal, which is jamming, that saturates the radio spectrum, or deceiving it, which is spoofing, that replaces the real positioning signal with a fake one. Both act on the electromagnetic spectrum of the attack drone's control link. But the fiber optic model eliminated that domain. There simply isn't a radio signal to jam, no GPS to spoof. The cable carries light, not waves, and the light inside the cable is physically inaccessible to any external electronic warfare system. Until now, there was no effective technological countermeasure, and defenders were reduced to primitive solutions, placing fishing nets over their supply routes, using shotguns, or physically cutting the cable, for which some special barriers were even tested. And then, Leonidas appears with a completely new approach. Instead of disrupting the control link, the idea is to directly destroy the electronic components of the device. But how can it do that? Well, the system combines gallium nitride solid-state amplifiers, or GaN, with an active electronically scanned array, or AESA antenna, operated by software that designs and controls the precise microwave waveform. In plain English, this means that Leonidas can quickly jump between frequencies, firing rapid bursts of unique waves modulated at the specific frequencies to which drones are most susceptible. Whew, it still sounds like a tongue twister, right? Well then, let's translate this into operational language. The system emits very high-power microwave pulses, thousands per second, at frequencies calibrated to induce destructive currents in the circuits on board the drone. It doesn't matter if the device is controlled by radio, GPS, or fiber optics. They all have electronic components, they all have microprocessors, batteries, and flight controllers. And all of that can be destroyed by a sufficiently intense electromagnetic field. Come on, that's totally something Spock could say in the classic Star Trek series. The people responsible for this system are Optic, a company of 200 people with offices in California and Washington, which prides itself on mixing the speed and innovation of Silicon Valley with the operational knowledge of military veterans. Many of their employees are former military who understand what soldiers need and how to design intuitive equipment, or, as an infantryman would say, foolproof. Founded in 2018, Optic introduced the Leonidas in 2020, and in just 5 years went from being a tech startup to an active supplier for the U.S. Army and the Marine Corps, with requests from several countries, including Ukraine. The U.S. Army has already purchased 6 second-generation Leonidas Paragera FPC HPM systems, while the Marine Corps acquired 2, although all of them are still in the prototype stage. This model offers an effective range of up to 2 kilometers, which is more than double that of the first version, and a 30% increase in output power. It also features built-in batteries that allow up to 30 minutes of autonomous operation without an external power source. This means it can be deployed in advanced positions without generators and maintain continuous anti-aircraft fire for a sufficient period to shoot down an entire wave of Russian or Iranian attack drones. This equipment is part of a product line that also includes the Leonidas Mobile, which mounts the microwave emitter on a Stryker vehicle. They also developed the Leonidas H2O, a system adapted to the marine environment, designed to combat both surface and aerial drones. As for mobile platforms, they are working on the Leonidas Pod, a system mounted on their own drones for electronic attack missions. And finally, they created an expeditionary directed energy system against swarms, prepared for the defense of forward Marine Corps deployments. That is, Optic has considered the problem in 5 different domains: defense of fixed installations, mobile defense for armored units, naval defense, attack from aerial platforms, and portable expeditionary defense. Now let's talk about the Ukraine factor, which is probably the most important thing for us in this whole story. Until 2025, Optic did not have authorization to export the Leonidas to other countries. But this would have changed thanks to pressure from the company and the U.S. Congress, who consider Ukraine the perfect testing ground to validate the system. In real combat conditions, since the defenders are facing exactly the problem that Leonidas claims to be able to solve, although some security concerns have complicated the process. For Kyiv, equipment like this represents an economically sustainable way to protect infrastructure, logistics centers, and frontline maneuver units against massive swarms. That's why the question isn't whether Leonidas will reach the Ukrainian front, but when, in what configuration, and in how many units. If the defenders manage to deploy just half a dozen second-generation systems to protect logistics nodes 50 kilometers from the front, they would gain a substantial advantage over the invaders. Now, Leonidas is not a magic system, and it has quite a few limitations. For example, directed energy defense needs a direct line of sight to the target, so terrain, buildings, or low clouds can reduce its effectiveness. In addition, rain, fog, or snow degrade the propagation of microwaves, and therefore the effective range. Another disadvantage is that drones with metal frames or hardened electronics can mitigate the effects of the pulse, although at the cost of higher price and weight. Emissions can also affect friendly systems, and the software must be sophisticated enough to distinguish between friend and foe. If the defenders have their own drones near the target, the wide pulse can damage them as well. This requires precise tactical coordination and a discrimination system that still needs to be tested in real conditions. The Leonidas probably represents the most important doctrinal change in air defense since the introduction of the surface-to-air missile in the 1950s. Classic electronic warfare operated in the radio spectrum domain: detect, disrupt, deceive. Leonidas operates in the domain of causing physical damage to electronics: detect, target, and fry circuits. And come on, there's something poetic about the name. Leonidas, the Spartan king who defended the pass of Thermopylae against a numerically superior force. Epirus chose that name precisely because the system is designed to solve the fundamental problem of modern warfare: how to defeat an enemy that attacks with massive quantities of cheap weapons. If Mordor launches 100 Shaheeds in one night, the defenders can't respond with 100 Patriot missiles costing $4 million each. But they can respond with a microwave pulse that costs a couple of dollars and is capable of taking down 100 drones simultaneously. That's the gamble. And what if Ukraine manages to receive Leonidas in operationally significant quantities before the end of 2026? Russian fiber optic operators will discover the cable that shielded them from jamming doesn't protect them from the microwave oven, the Spartan microwave oven, that'll be waiting for them on the other side of the front line. For those who want to see additional content, we invite you to subscribe to our Patreon, where for just $1, you'll have access to uncensored war videos. Visit our store and discover items from Ukraine's distinguished units. Each purchase directly supports United 24, contributing to reconstruction, civil aid, and defense. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel.